Hello, everybody, and welcome to Finding Your Innergator podcast, where we talk about discipline, relationships, and the habits that release the greatness that is already inside of you. I'm your host, Wright, and I am so glad that you're here. In each episode, we'll explore powerful lessons, real-life stories, and practical strategies to help you live intentionally, build meaningful relationships, and unlock your full potential. But greatness isn't something you stumble into. It's something that is built every single day. So let's get started and begin the journey to finding your Innergator. Hello, everybody. This is Wright, and you are listening to Finding Your Innergator. Just so you know, I am so glad that you are here. Hey, let me ask you something right out of the gate today. What are you fishing for? Not what do you say you want. What are you actually targeting? They're not always the same thing. You know, last week, if you remember, I was talking to you about being in Bermuda. I still haven't got over that. If you haven't been, you need to go. Incredible place. On the day that we were fishing, we went out targeting wahoo and tuna. We had a plan. I had high expectations, and for a while, nothing was working. I told you there were boat issues. There were no fish. When you looked at the sonars and the finders, there was no life anywhere. It was just like being over an abyss. You have one of those days, you ever have one of those days where you just sit there and think, this is not going how I thought it was going to go? And what's interesting is most people focus on that part of the story, the frustration, the uncertainty, the moment where it feels like it's not working. Because here's what matters. We weren't out there trying to catch anything. We were targeting something specific. That part right there is where most people get it wrong, guys. You're not stuck. You're not behind. You're not missing something. You are just not targeting the right thing. Now, I want you to really think about that now. Think about that. Most people live in a constant state of activity. They're moving, they're doing things, they're checking boxes, they're answering emails, they're making calls, they're sitting in meetings, they're running from one thing to the next. And at the end of the day, they feel like they've done something. They feel like they've been busy. But if you really step back and look at it, they're not building anything meaningful. They are active. I'll give them that. They are active. I know some busy people. But they're not intentional. Let me try and explain this in a way that hopefully makes sense. And I know some of you don't like me using my fish analogies, but look, I'm Captain RB. I fish and I work. Those are the two things that I love, right? So I'm going to mix them up here. I'm going to get them together because I think you can learn some valuable lessons. When I go offshore fishing, I am not trying to catch everything that's in the water. I'm not just putting lines in the water and hoping that something bites. I'm targeting something specific. We've been talking about wahoo, and when I go after wahoo, it's a completely different setup, right? The rods I use a little bit bigger rods. The leaders I use change. I'm not using mono. Most of the time I'm using a wire leader. It's a toothy fish. And these things are fast. When they hit, it's a violent strike. And they will cut through your leader in a heartbeat, which is why I use wire. The trolling speed, how fast I am pulling the baits, changes. I'll control these 10, 13 knots. The depth fish changes. The spread, the presentation that I put out is different. Even where I go to catch these is different. Why? Because I'm not fishing blindly. I am targeting with intention. Here's the reality. If I just wanted to go catch a fish, I could stay on the bank and cast out. I could float down the waterway. and drift. I could just throw out a line, catch something small, and I could say I've had a productive day. That's not why I go offshore. I go offshore because I'm hunting something bigger. Now let's bring this back to your day-to-day. Your life reflects what you're targeting. Hear me, your life reflects what you're targeting. If you're targeting comfort, you're going to get comfortable results. If you're targeting easy wins, you're going to get small wins. If you're targeting low-risk decisions, you're going to live a low-risk life. And then you'll sit back and you'll wonder, RB, why is nothing changing? It's not that you're not working hard. It's not that you're not busy. But you're working on the, guys, I'm sorry, but you're working on the wrong things. You're not behind. You're just not being intentional about what you're going after. Now, here's where the shift happens. This is where it takes place. People who operate at a higher level think differently. They think long term. They understand there are going to be stretches where nothing happens. When we're trolling, we may go an hour, 2 hours, not even have a strike. Then all of a sudden, bam, you have a takedown. The rods are screaming. You got fish on. But people understand there's going to be those stretches. There's going to be those phases where nothing happens. They do not panic when the results don't show up immediately. They don't abandon the goal when something breaks. They adjust. They stay patient. They stay disciplined. They stay focused. Because they understand something most people will never figure out. One right opportunity can change everything. If you remember, that's what I told you happened to us in Bermuda. We didn't change the goal. We didn't say, let's catch whatever we can. We adjusted the plan. We looked at the conditions. We paid attention to see exactly what was happening. We changed the directions, found the right water. We changed the spread, and we stuck to it. And then everything changed. We had blackfin tuna. We had wahoo. Same ocean, same boat, same people. But a different result. Why? It's because we adjusted without losing sight of what we're targeting. And that's the lesson. That's what I'm trying to get you to understand. Because most people, when things don't go their way, they don't adjust, they quit. Or worse, they lower their target. They shrink their goal. They start telling themselves stories to make it okay. No. You just didn't stay in it long enough to adjust. And that's it. That's why we're going to be doing this series. It's one I call whale hunting, right? Most people don't know how to operate this way. They've never been taught. They don't understand what it actually takes to go after something bigger. Over the next several episodes, I'm going to break this down for you step by step. How to research, how to plan, how to position yourself, how to execute, how to adjust, and how to actually land what you're going after. This isn't about fishing. I love the analogies. I think they make sense. They do to me. But this is about how you approach your life. And it's exactly what we've been building with the Innergator system. Not just motivation, not just something that sounds good, but a structure and a system that actually works. You know, hearing it is one thing. Doing it consistently is something completely different. The difference between people who want more and people who actually get more is structure. I say that to you all the time. Here's what I want you to do this week. Take a step back and be honest with yourself. What are you actually fishing for? What are you targeting? Not what you say. Okay? Be honest with yourself. I'm not talking about what you say you're targeting. What are your actions showing you're fishing for or targeting? They're not always the same thing. I tell you this every week, that inside of you is greatness. But greatness doesn't come from doing more. It comes from being intentional about what you're going after and then disciplined enough to stay with it, even when it's not working. Especially when it's not working. What are you fishing for, ladies and gentlemen? And what are you actually targeting? And the question you have to ask yourself is, are you really doing the steps necessary to catch those fish, right? Are you? What are you fishing for? And what are you, and are you actually targeting it? You got to ask yourself that. My hope is that today's episode made sense to you. And next week, we begin that 6-week series. I look forward to you being a part of it, and I hope it helps. If this has helped you, share it with somebody. Continue to send us the feedback. We appreciate it greatly. I appreciate it greatly. I say we, it's me. And I hope you have a great week. Talk to you soon. Everybody, thank you so much for listening to the Finding Your Innergator podcast. You know, if today's episode helped you, share it with someone who needs to hear this message. Remember, greatness is achieved through discipline, intentional action, and optimizing the relationships around you. I look forward to getting with you next week. Now, go Gatorize your day.